She was driven out for helping a wounded Apache. By dawn, a strange symbol had been cut deep into her door, fresh and raw. She had no idea what it meant. She didn't know that before the sun fully rose, 5 Apache warriors would storm across her uncle's land. She didn't know that the man she had dragged from a ravine 2 days earlier was the most feared fighter in the territory, or that showing him mercy would strip her of everything she'd ever called home. What Mae Dalton did know, as her fingers traced the rough carving in the gray hours before morning, was that her life had crossed a line it could never step back from. The instant she had looked into the eyes of a dying Apache and chosen compassion instead of fear. Before we go any further, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? In the Arizona territory of 1860, an 18-year-old orphan and a 25-year-old warrior were about to learn how a single act of mercy could spark a love strong enough to span 2 worlds, or burn them both to the ground. Mae Dalton had been an orphan for exactly 1 year. Typhoid fever had wiped out her parents and her older brother in less than 3 weeks, leaving 18-year-old Mae alone in the world, except for her father's brothers, Silas Dalton and Earl Dalton, who inherited the homestead under one cruel condition. Mae was required to live under their roof until she married or turned 21. If she left before then, the land would revert to them. From that day on, her uncles turned her life into a slow, deliberate punishment. "You're heading to Oak Grove today," Silas said that morning, tossing an empty sack at her feet. "Don't come back unless it's full. And I mean full." "That's a 2-hour walk," Mae protested. "I won't be back before dark." "Then you'd better move," Earl muttered, never lifting his eyes from his plate. The plate of food Mae herself had cooked, at 4 in the morning, after barely 5 hours of sleep. She picked up the sack without another word. Talking back only made things worse. At least the morning was beautiful. Spring had brushed the Arizona mountains with wildflowers and fresh green growth. Mae followed the familiar trail toward Oak Grove, her thoughts drifting as they often did to her parents, to her brother Noah Dalton, who used to make her laugh, to the life that had vanished overnight. So lost in memory, she nearly missed it. A narrow side trail veering left, slipping into a stand of aspens she had never explored. Mae slowed, uncertain. She should have stayed on the main path, gathered, the firewood gone straight home. But something about that trail pulled at her. The way sunlight spilled through the white trunks, the faint sound of running water, the promise of something gentle in a life that had turned hard and bitter. Just a few minutes, she told herself, just to see where it leads. She followed it deeper, into unfamiliar ground. The land grew rougher, wilder, more secluded. A narrow stream cut through the rocks, and Mae paused, watching how the light danced across the water. That was when she heard it. A sound that didn't belong. A low, broken groan of pain coming from somewhere to her right. Her first instinct was to flee. These mountains held wild animals, dangerous men, things a young woman had no business facing alone. But the sound came again, thick and human this time. "Hello, Mae," called, tightening her grip on the firewood sack, like it might serve as a weapon. "Is someone there?" The groaning stopped. Mae moved carefully toward the sound, pushing through brush, stepping over a fallen log, and then she froze. A man was trapped in a narrow split between 2 massive boulders. Apache, she realized instantly. Long black hair, buckskin clothing, the unmistakable frame of a warrior, even in ruin. One leg was twisted at a painful angle, pinned fast. His right arm hung wrong, dislocated, maybe broken. Mae couldn't tell from where she stood. Blood streaked his temple, more soaked into his shoulder. He had clearly fallen from the rocks above. His horse stood 30 feet up the slope, reins snarled in brush, eyes wide and nervous. The Apache's gaze locked onto Mae's. Dark eyes, sharp, burning even through pain. He spoke in Apache, something urgent, maybe a warning, maybe a plea. I don't speak Apache, Mae said, her voice trembling. But you're hurt. Badly. Every sensible thought in her head screamed at her to run. Apache and white settlers were enemies. Helping him could get her killed by him, by her uncles, by the entire town, if they ever found out. But when Mae looked into his eyes, she saw past fear. She saw suffering, not an enemy, just a wounded man. And she thought of her mother, Mae Dalton, a healer, a woman who had taught Mae that mercy wasn't something you rationed out. Pain deserved easing no matter who carried it. I'm going to help you, Mae Dalton said, setting the sack aside. But you have to stay still. And please don't kill me. She thought she saw something pass through his eyes. Surprise, maybe even a flicker of dry amusement. Hard to say. Mae worked for nearly 2 hours. She found a thick limb and used it as a lever, shifting the smaller rock just enough to free his leg. Not broken, thank God, only badly bruised and scraped. The shoulder was worse, dislocated. Mae had watched her mother set a shoulder once years ago, and she had paid attention even at 14. This is going to hurt, Mae warned as she positioned herself. A lot. The Apache nodded once and braced. Mae pulled and twisted the way she remembered. His jaw locked tight, every muscle going rigid. He didn't cry out. Didn't even grunt, only a sharp breath when the joint slid back into place. There, Mae said, panting. It's back in. You'll need to keep it still for a few weeks. She stopped. He was staring at her, an intensity in his gaze that stole the air from her lungs. Why, he asked, his English heavy but clear. Why help? Because you needed help, Mae said simply. He studied her for a long moment, then said quietly, Dangerous for you, if your people know. Probably, Mae admitted. But I couldn't leave you here to die. Something shifted in his expression, still guarded, still controlled, but warmer somehow. I take you home, he said, struggling to rise. Mae hurried to support him, slipping beneath his good arm. You can barely stand. Can ride, he said. Must get you home before dark. Mountains not safe for white woman alone. He whistled sharp and clear. The horse above snorted and picked its way down the slope, stopping beside them. I can walk back, Mae protested. No, he said. I take you. His tone ended the argument. Mae had never mounted a horse this large. She struggled, arms shaking, until she finally pulled herself into the saddle. The Apache climbed up behind her with visible effort, pain evident in every movement, though his face stayed unreadable. He kept his distance. His hands touched her only where necessary, resting on the reins, careful to avoid her body. Mae wasn't sure what she had expected, but the restraint surprised her and made her feel foolish, for the way her pulse had jumped earlier. He was just a wounded man she had helped. Nothing more. The horse moved at a slow, careful pace. Mae tried to ignore the presence behind her, the height of him, the coiled strength he carried even injured. The fact that she had never been this close to any man, let alone one who seemed carved from stone and fire. They rode in silence. Once Mae glanced back. His face was blank, eyes fixed on the trail ahead, as if she were cargo rather than the woman who had saved his life. After nearly 40 minutes, the homestead came into view. He stopped the horse well short of the house. Mae slid down awkwardly, nearly stumbling before she caught herself. She turned to thank him properly, but he only dipped his head. No words, no expression. His dark eyes met hers for a brief heartbeat, unreadable, then he turned the horse and rode off. No farewell, no acknowledgement of what had passed between them. Mae stood there, hollow, watching him vanish into the trees. She had imagined something, a moment, a connection, but clearly she had been wrong. Shaking off the strange ache in her chest, she walked toward the house, the empty sack still hanging from her hand. What Mae didn't know was that 50 yards away, hidden behind a thick oak, Caleb Rook had witnessed everything. The nosy neighbor who hunted on Dalton land, despite warnings. The man who had just seen an Apache warrior and a white girl sharing a saddle, and was already shaping the story for maximum outrage. And Mae also didn't know that the Apache warrior called Nash sat just beyond sight, hand pressed to his injured shoulder, watching until she reached the house safely, thinking of blue eyes that had met his with compassion instead of fear, thinking of a woman who had risked everything to save him, and knowing with bitter certainty that he should not be thinking of her at all. He was hurt, Mae Dalton said quickly, pinned between rocks. I helped him and he brought me back to make sure I got home safe. That's all. That's all. Earl Dalton appeared in the doorway, his face flushed with rage. You helped a savage, rode with him, Silas Dalton roared. Mae barely finished. He was dying before Silas struck her. The blow snapped her head sideways and slammed her into the wall. You betrayed your own kind, he shouted. The Apache killed the Hendersons last month, burned the Morrison Ranch, and you helped them. That wasn't him, Mae cried. You don't know that? Silas snapped. You don't know anything except you're a foolish girl who just destroyed this family's name. By then, Caleb Rook had already spread the story. Within an hour, half a dozen men from town crowded the Dalton property demanding justice. She aided the enemy, Caleb declared loudly. I saw it myself, her and some Apache buck cozy on the same horse. It wasn't like that, Mae protested, but no one listened. Preacher Holt arrived stern and unyielding. This is serious, Mae. You've committed an act of treason against your own people. We're not at war, Mae said weakly. We're always at war with savages, someone shouted. What's to be done? Silas asked, and Mae heard the calculation beneath his voice. He was enjoying this every second of her disgrace. Public punishment, Preacher Holt said. Tomorrow, town square, 20 lashes. Everyone needs to see what happens to traitors. The room spun. 20 lashes could kill her. At the very least, it would scar her forever. Please, Mae whispered. I was only helping someone who was hurt. Then you should have let him die, Holt said coldly. Take her to the cellar. Lock her in. We'll deal with her in the morning. Silas and Earl dragged her across the floor to the old root cellar, behind the house, and shoved her inside. You did this to yourself, Silas said. All you had to do was act like a proper white woman. Instead, you chose the enemy. The door slammed. Mae heard the bolt slide home, sealing her in darkness. She sank onto the cold dirt and fought the tears. She tried not to imagine the lashes tearing into her back, tried not to picture dying in the town square, while people she'd known all her life watched and cheered. Exhaustion finally pulled her under and she drifted into a restless half-sleep. She didn't know what time it was when a sound woke her, something scraping against the wooden door. Mae held her breath. The scraping continued, slow, deliberate, like someone carving. Then it stopped. Silence returned, broken only by an owl's distant call. Mae waited, heart pounding. When the first gray light crept through the cracks, she heard footsteps and voices. Go get her, Silas said. Time for justice. The bolt slid back. The door opened. Silas stood framed by morning light. Come on, traitor. The town's waiting. Then he froze, stared at the door. What in hell is that? Mae scrambled up and looked. Carved deep into the wood, fresh and unmistakable, was a symbol, 3 lines slashed through a circle. Beneath it, the clear shape of a wolf. A mark. Earl breathed. What does it mean? Nothing good, Silas said, though uncertainty crept into his voice. Maybe even fear. Before anyone could speak again, thunder filled the air, hoofbeats. Many of them. Fast. They burst out of the sunrise like demons. 5 Apache riders, Nash's war band, moving with terrifying precision. War cries split the air. Arrows flew. Silas and Earl dove for cover. Caleb Rook, who had come to escort Mae to her punishment, turned and ran screaming toward town. The warriors swept across the property like a storm. One seized Mae and hauled her onto his horse before she could scream. No, she fought, certain she was about to die. Please, no. The warrior holding her spoke in Apache words she didn't understand. His grip was iron, inescapable. They rode hard and fast, leaving chaos behind. Mae could hear her uncle shouting, but the sounds faded as the warriors carried her deep into the wilderness. Terror swallowed everything else. Mae was certain they were going to kill her, torture her, do things she couldn't even name. She had helped one of them, and this, she believed, was how mercy was answered, with violence. After what felt like hours, though, it was likely less than one, they reached an Apache camp. Dozens of lodges filled the clearing. Hundreds of faces turned as the riders thundered in, staring at the white woman taken captive. Mae was yanked from the horse and shoved toward a large lodge at the center of camp. "Please, Mae," Dalton begged, tears streaming. "Please don't hurt me. I'll do whatever you want. Just, please." The lodge flap lifted, and there he stood, Nash, the man she had saved. Upright now, his shoulder bound but clearly healing. He looked stronger, more commanding than he had trapped between the rocks, and he studied her with an expression she couldn't read. "You," Mae whispered. "You did this. You had them take me." Nash spoke sharply in Apache. The warriors bowed and withdrew. When they were alone, he turned to her. "You are safe," he said in his rough, accented English. "No one will harm you. Safe." Fear burned into anger. "You kidnapped me. Your men raided my home. I thought you were going to kill me. If I wanted you dead, you would already be dead," Nash said calmly. "You are here because you are in danger. The only danger I was in was because I helped you." "Yes," Nash said. "And that danger would have killed you today. 20 lashes. Mae froze. "How do you know about that?" "I watched last night," he said. "I heard the men plan your punishment. A public whipping. You would not survive. So you saved me. I save you. Because you saved me first," Nash said. "A debt must be answered. By kidnapping me." His jaw tightened. "You do not understand. Soldiers have hunted me for 3 years. I am valuable." He searched for the word. "If they learn where I was wounded, they learn where I hunt, where I travel. They ambush me there. Kill me. Kill my warriors." He stepped closer. "You under pain or threat could tell them. Not your fault. Pain makes anyone speak. But what you know is dangerous to my people. So I brought you here. To keep you safe," he continued. "And to keep my people safe. Do you understand?" Mae understood the logic even as she hated it. "So I'm your prisoner." "You are my responsibility," Nash corrected. "There is a difference." "What difference?" "A prisoner is held against her will, treated badly, given no freedom. A responsibility is protected, respected, allowed to live. You will have a lodge, food, safety," he said. "You help the tribe cook, teach children English if you wish. In return you live well, not as a prisoner. And I can't leave, not yet. Yet until it is safe, until soldiers stop hunting me in this area." He paused, something flickering in his eyes. "Until I say." Mae studied him, the warrior who had shown no emotion when she saved his life, who had ridden away without a backward glance. Now he was telling her she belonged to him. "I want to go home," Mae said, even though home meant Silas Dalton and Earl Dalton. "Your home would have killed you today," Nash said quietly. "Here you live. Choose." It wasn't really a choice, but it was survival. "Fine," Mae said, "but I'm not your prisoner, and I'm not your property." "Agreed," Nash said. Then in a tone that sent a chill down her spine, he added, "You are something else entirely." Before Mae could ask what he meant, an older man stepped into the lodge. Someone of authority, made clear by the way Nash straightened and lowered his gaze. Mae's new life had just begun. And so Mae Dalton's new life began as a guest who was not allowed to leave. The first week was the hardest. Mae was given a small lodge near the edge of the camp. It was private and comfortable, but its placement was no accident. From there, Warriors could easily see her. She wasn't tied. No one stood guard at her door. Still, there was no doubt if she tried to run, she would be stopped. The language barrier felt enormous. Most of the tribe spoke no English. Mae spoke no Apache. Communication came through gestures and the handful of words Nash taught her when he stopped by each evening to check on her. Every evening, without fail. He never stayed long, never touched her. His visits were short, practical. You need anything? Food good, no one bothering you. Then he would leave, keeping the same careful distance he had maintained since the day he carried her home on his horse. It frustrated Mae more than she cared to admit. The women of the tribe were cautious at first, watching her, measuring her. Mae won them over through persistence alone. She helped with cooking. Her stews used unfamiliar spices, but hunger was hunger, and her food tasted good. She helped with the children too. Toddlers didn't care what language she spoke as long as she laughed with them and played. And slowly, she began to teach. It started with one curious 6-year-old boy. He pointed at himself and said something in Apache. Mae pointed at him. Boy. She pointed at herself. Woman. At the sky. Blue. At the ground. Earth. Within a week, 4 to 5 children gathered around her every afternoon, eager to learn English words. Within 2 weeks, there were 15. Nash watched from a distance. Mae caught him, sometimes standing near his lodge, arms crossed, eyes fixed on her as she taught. His expression gave nothing away, but he watched. One evening during her 3rd week, he came to her lodge and stayed longer than usual. Children learn fast from you, he said. You are a good teacher. Thank you, Mae said, surprised. Why you do this, he asked. Teach them. Help women. You could refuse, cause trouble. But you do not. Mae thought for a moment. Because being angry won't change my situation. And because these children didn't kidnap me. These women didn't hurt me. They're just people trying to live same as I am. Something flickered in Nash's eyes. You are unexpected. What does that mean? Most white women hate us. Fear us. You do not. I was terrified when your warriors took me, Mae admitted. But fear fades. Underneath it, I just see people. Some kind, some not. Same as anywhere. Nash was silent for a long moment. You saw that in me, he said quietly. When I was trapped. You saw person, not enemy. Yes. That is rare gift. He left before Mae could answer. But something had changed. A wall had cracked just a little. Mae first noticed her in the 4th week. A beautiful Apache woman, maybe 22, with long black hair and striking features. She moved through the camp with confidence, and people stepped aside for her with clear respect. Mae also noticed the way the woman looked at Nash, and the way Nash changed when she approached him. Not cold, not distant, careful like he was handling something fragile. Who is that? Mae asked one of the children she taught, a bright girl named Lena who was learning English quickly. Lena followed Mae's gaze. Ira, she said, then searched for the English words Mae had taught her. Promise. Wife. To Nash, Mae asked. Lena nodded. Yes. They marry soon. 2. Mae felt her stomach sink. No. 3 moons. Engaged. 3 moons. Nash was engaged. Mae Dalton told herself it didn't matter. She barely knew him. He had saved her life by taking her captive, kept her here against her will. No. Responsibility, a quiet voice corrected. And he rarely spoke to her beyond polite, distant check-ins. So why did her chest feel tight? She learned why the next afternoon when Ira approached her directly. You are white woman, Ira said in careful, measured English. Mae. Yes, Mae replied. And you're Ira. I'm told you're to marry Nash. In 3 moons. Ira smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I help you. You are new. You do not know our ways. I teach. It sounded generous. Over the following days, Mae realized teaching meant something else entirely. May you fetch water, Ira said sweetly. Very heavy pots. From river, far river. May you wash these blankets. Very dirty. Cold stream. Scrub hard. May help with this, help with that. Always the hardest tasks. Always the coldest water, the heaviest loads. Always delivered with a gentle tone that couldn't hide the intent behind it. Ira was never openly cruel. She never struck May, never insulted her outright. But she made May's life deliberately harder, day by day. And she always found reasons to call Nash over whenever May was nearby. Nash, help me with this basket. Nash, show me the meat you brought from hunting. Nash, we must talk about wedding ceremony. Always touching his arm, always smiling up at him, always making sure May saw. May told herself she didn't care. She was lying. It was a month and a half into her captivity when everything shifted. May was teaching the children their English lesson, 15 of them, now sitting in a circle, repeating after her. Sky, May said. Sky, the children echoed. A little boy, maybe 4, pointed excitedly at a hawk circling overhead and shouted something in Apache. The other children burst into laughter. May laughed too, even though she didn't understand the words. The joy on the boy's face needed no translation. She looked up and caught Nash watching from 30 feet away. This time his expression wasn't neutral. He was smiling, just barely, a faint curve of his mouth. But it changed everything, made him look younger. Less like stone and fire and more like a man. Their eyes met. The smile faded, but something remained, a warmth that hadn't been there before. Then Ira appeared, slipping her arm through his, and Nash looked away. That night he came to May's lodge as usual, but instead of leaving quickly, he lingered. Children love you, he said. They talk about Teacher May all the time. I love them too, May admitted. They're kind, and so eager to learn. You could have refused, Nash said. You are, what is word? Captive. You owe us nothing. They're children, May said simply. They deserve education. And I like having purpose. It makes me feel less like a prisoner and more like a person. You are not prisoner. You keep saying that, May replied. But I still can't leave. Not yet. Nash sat down the first time he had ever sat inside her lodge. But maybe soon. Hope flared in May's chest. Really, soldiers move their patrols, he said. The area where you found me is no longer their focus. Risk is less. In another moon, maybe 2, you could go home, if you wish. May should have been thrilled. Instead, May felt hollow. Home, she said quietly. To uncles who hate me. To a town that wanted to whip me in the square. That isn't home. Then where is home? Nash asked. Mae Dalton looked around her small lodge, thought of the children she taught each day, the women who had slowly begun to accept her, the steady rhythm of tribal life she was only starting to understand. I don't know anymore, she admitted. Nash was silent for a long time. Then he spoke, his voice low. When I was trapped between the rocks, I thought I would die. I was ready. I had nothing left except duty. He lifted his eyes to hers. Then you came. You looked at me with blue eyes full of kindness I did not deserve. You saved me. And something inside me changed. I started to live again, not just exist. May's breath caught. He had never shared anything like this before. You feel like burden. Nash continued. A responsibility I accepted because I had to. But truth is, he stopped searching her face. Truth is, I brought you here partly to protect my people, but partly because I could not let them hurt you. Could not let anyone hurt you. You became important to me, he said quietly. I should not say this. I am promised to Ira. The wedding is soon. But I will not lie. When you are near, I feel alive. When you laugh with the children, something in my chest grows warm. When you look at me, I want. He stood abruptly. I must go. I have said too much. Wait, Mae said, rising too. You can't say all of that and just leave. Yes, I can, Nash replied, because I am an honorable man. I gave my word to Ira and her family. I will not break it, even if you don't love her. His jaw tightened. Love is not required for marriage. Respect, partnership, duty, these matter more. Do they? Mae stepped closer. Or are you hiding behind duty because actually feeling something scares you? You know nothing. I know you smile when you watch me teach, Mae said. I know you come to my lodge every night even though you could send someone else. I know you look at me like I matter, and I know her voice dropped to a whisper that you feel this pull between us, the same way I do. Nash stared at her chest rising and falling fast. For a heartbeat, Mae thought he might kiss her. Instead, he turned and walked out of the lodge without a word. Mae stood there, heart pounding, wondering what she had just done. The next morning, Ira came to Mae's lodge earlier than usual. You will help prepare food for the wedding feast, she said coolly. My wedding. To Nash. 3 weeks from now, Ira continued. You will see how an Apache woman wins a warrior's heart, not a white outsider who knows nothing of our ways. Mae met her gaze steadily. If you already have his heart, why are you threatened by me? Ira's smile was sharp as a blade. I am not threatened. I am victorious. You are temporary. I am forever. She turned and walked away, leaving Mae wondering if that was true and why it hurt so deeply. If it was. The next 2 weeks were torture. Nash avoided Mae. He still came to her lodge for his nightly check-ins, but they were brief, formal, painfully distant. No more conversations. No more lingering. Mae told herself it was for the best. She was lying. Wedding preparations consumed the camp. Ira made certain Mae was involved in everything, grinding corn for the feast, preparing hides, helping with decorations. Always the same unspoken reminder. This is my wedding, my warrior, my future. Mae endured it in silence, teeth clenched until the night she finally couldn't bear it anymore. 2 weeks before the wedding, Mae Dalton slipped out of her lodge after dark. She couldn't sleep. Couldn't breathe inside those narrow walls, knowing Nash would soon belong to someone else. She walked to the stream at the edge of camp, sat on a smooth rock, and finally let the tears come. She didn't hear him until he spoke. You are crying. Mae spun around. Nash stood 10 feet away, the moon outlining him in silver. I'm fine, Mae lied, wiping her face. You are a terrible liar, he said, stepping closer. Why do you cry? Because I'm tired. Because I'm homesick. She stopped. Because what? He pressed. Because you're getting married in 2 weeks. Mae said the words spilling out, and I have to watch it happen and pretend I don't care, and I'm not very good at pretending. The words hung between them. Nash closed the distance in 3 long strides. You think I want to marry her? He demanded. You think I want anyone but... He cut himself off, running a hand through his hair in frustration. But who, Mae asked. Anyone but who? You, Nash said roughly. Anyone but you. Mae's breath caught. Then don't marry her. I cannot break a sworn promise, he said. It would bring dishonor to her family, to me, to my people. So honor matters more than happiness. Yes, Nash said, then quieter. I do not know. Before you, the answer was simple. Now nothing is. Mae stood and faced him. If you marry her, I leave. I'll go back to my uncle's, to town, anywhere that isn't here, watching you with someone else. You would be hurt there. I'll be hurt here, Mae said softly. Just a different kind of hurt. Nash stared at her. I cannot lose you. You can't have both. I know, he said, anguish in his voice. I know. And then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate months of restraint breaking in an instant. His hand slid into her hair. Mae's fingers twisted in his shirt as their mouths met with a hunger that felt almost painful. When they pulled apart, both were trembling. "This is wrong," Nash said, yet he didn't release her. "I don't care," Mae whispered. "I don't care." He kissed her again and again until they were breathless, aching. "We cannot," Nash murmured against her mouth. "I cannot dishonor her." "Then tell her," Mae said. "Tell Ira the truth. I cannot break my word." "You keep saying that," Mae replied, pushing him back. "But you're breaking something every time you kiss me, while promise to her. At least be honest about it." Nash looked stricken. "You are right. I am being a coward trying to take what I want without paying the price. That is not honor." "So what do you do?" "I do not know," he admitted. "But I cannot stop wanting you. Cannot stop thinking about you." He pulled her close again. "I cannot let you go." "Then don't," Mae whispered. That night became the first of many. They couldn't stay away from each other. Every evening after dark they met in secret by the stream, in the trees, anywhere private. They talked for hours. Mae shared stories of her parents Mary Dalton and Henry Dalton, of her brother Noah Dalton, of the life she'd lost. Nash spoke of his own grief of Saya, the wife he'd lost to illness 3 years earlier, of a childhood shaped into a warrior, of being feared by enemies and relied upon by his people. And they kissed, touched, learned each other through hands and whispered breath, never going further than that. Nash insisted. "If I dishonor Ira that completely," he said, "I could never forgive myself." But the kissing was enough to leave them dizzy with need. "I cannot marry her," Nash said one night, holding Mae close. "I thought duty would be enough. I was wrong. I have tasted something real, and I cannot return to pretending." "Then tell her," Mae said softly. He held her tighter, knowing the truth that he could no longer escape. "I will," Mae Dalton urged. "Tomorrow, I will speak to her family," Nash said. "I will break the engagement. I will face whatever comes." Mae's heart lifted. "You mean it?" "I mean it," he said. "You are mine, Mae Dalton, in every way that matters, and I will not let duty take that from us." He kissed her once more, deep and full of promise. "Tomorrow," he said. "Everything changes tomorrow." Tomorrow arrived with devastation. At dawn, the tribal chief called a council. Every warrior was summoned. When Nash emerged from the council lodge, 2 hours later, his face was carved from stone. He found Mae near the teaching circle. "We must talk. In private." They walked to the stream without a word. "What happened?" Mae asked. "White soldiers have taken Apache land to the north," Nash said. "Sacred land. They build a fort. They kill those who resist." Mae felt the cold settle in her bones. "The chief has asked me to lead the warriors north," Nash continued. "We reclaim the land, or we die trying. How long I do not know. Many months. Maybe a year. Maybe longer." "And the wedding," Mae whispered. Nash's jaw tightened. "Ira's family demands an answer. Marry her before I leave, or break the promise. The chief says I must decide now. We leave in 3 days." "What did you tell them I asked for?" "One day," Nash said. "One day?" "One day to decide whether to marry without love, or break a vow and accept dishonor." Mae's voice cracked. "That isn't a choice." "I know," he said, pulling her close. "But I also know this. I cannot marry her. I will not bind her to me when my heart is yours." "So you'll break it," Mae said softly. "I will." Nash said, "I will face the shame. I will accept the cost. Some will hate me. Others will understand. But you, I cannot lose you. Not for honor. Not for duty. Not for anything." Mae kissed him, tears spilling. "Come back to me. No matter how long it takes, come back. I swear it." That evening, Nash met with Ira's family. Mae wasn't there, but she heard what happened from Lena the next morning. Ira's father was very angry, Lena said in careful English. He shouted, said Nash brought shame, and Ira Mae asked. She was quiet, Lena said. Then she spoke. She said, let him go. He does not love me. I deserve a man who chooses me with his whole heart. She released him. Mae's throat tightened. She had carried resentment for weeks, but in that moment she felt only gratitude and respect. Ira had given Nash his freedom. The engagement was ended. That night Nash came to Mae, eyes bright with relief and resolve. I am free, he said. Free to choose you. When I return from the north we marry if you will have me. Yes, Mae said. Yes. Yes. They held each other beneath the stars, speaking softly of a future that finally felt possible. 3 days later, Nash rode north with 20 warriors, danger waiting ahead. Mae watched him go, her hand pressed to her heart, whispering the words he had taught her in Apache, come back to me. He looked back once, touched his fist to his chest. A promise. Then he was gone. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Months turned into a year, then another. Mae remained with the tribe. She became one of them. She spoke Apache fluently, now teaching not only children but adults who wanted English. She was valued, respected, loved. And every night she slept alone, missing Nash with an ache that never faded. News came in fragments. Word spread that warriors had clashed with soldiers more than once. Land had been taken back, then lost, then seized again. There were dead on both sides. Still no one could say whether Nash lived or had fallen. Mae Dalton prayed he was alive. She had to believe it. He will return, Ira told her one afternoon. They had become unlikely friends after Nash left, bound by loving the same impossible man. How do you know? Mae asked. Because he promised you, Ira said simply. And Nash does not break promises to those he loves. The second year was harder. Food grew scarce. Soldiers pushed closer to tribal lands. Whispers spread of moving farther south. Then on a cold late fall morning, riders appeared on the horizon. 20 Apache warriors led by the man Mae had dreamed of for 730 nights. Nash was home. She ran without thinking. Propriety be damned. She crossed the camp at a sprint and threw herself into his arms the moment he dismounted. Nash caught her, crushing her to his chest, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. You came back, Mae sobbed. You really came back. I promised, Nash said roughly. Where is she? Where is Mae? I'm here. I'm right here. They stood like that for long moments, locked together, while the tribe watched and smiled. When they finally pulled apart, Nash cupped her face in his hands. I am home, he said, and I am never leaving you again, Good Mae said, because I'm done waiting. That night a feast welcomed the warriors home. Nash sat beside Mae, their hands entwined beneath the table, unable to stop touching. The chief rose to speak. Our warriors return victorious. Land is reclaimed, but white soldiers are many. They will come again. We must be ready. His words were cut short by thunderous hoofbeats. Not Apache horses. Soldiers at least 30 rode into camp with rifles raised. At their head were 2 men Mae recognized with a sickening jolt. Silas Dalton and Earl Dalton. There she is, Silas shouted, pointing. Our niece kidnapped by savages. The chief stepped forward, palms raised. This woman stays by choice. She's white, Earl snapped. She belongs with her own people. We demand her return. The commanding officer, a hard-faced Captain Mae didn't know, nodded. The Daltons have claim. Apache have no right to detain white citizens. Nash stepped in front of Mae, his hand resting on his knife. She stays. She is mine. Stand down, the captain ordered. We outnumber you 3-1. We have orders. Retrieve the woman by force if necessary. The chief looked around at women, children, elders, at the soldiers' rifles. He made his choice. We do not want war, he said quietly. The white woman may go for peace. No, Nash said fiercely. She is mine. The chief's voice hardened. I will not sacrifice my people for one person, even one we love. I can, Nash said. I must. Mae, the chief said gently. You must go. I have spoken. Mae felt her world collapse. She looked at Nash and saw rage and anguish tearing him apart. It's all right, she whispered. I'll be all right. No, Nash said. I will come for you. You can't, Mae said softly. It would start a war. Your people need you more than I do. She kissed him, quick, desperate. I love you. Remember that. Before Nash could answer, Silas seized her arm and dragged her toward a horse. Get on. Mae looked back at the camp, at the children she'd taught, now crying at Ira, with her hand over her mouth, at the chief, suddenly old and weary. At Nash, standing frozen, as if his heart had been torn from his chest. I am sorry, the chief said quietly to him. Nash said nothing. He only watched as soldiers escorted Mae away from the only real home she had ever known. As they rode toward town, Mae did not cry. She was too numb to feel it. Too hollow to know that behind her, Nash had gone into his lodge and torn it apart with his bare hands, splintered wood, overturned hides, grief turning into violence because there was nowhere else for it to go. She did not know that Tarek had stood before him afterward and said, Give it 3 moons. Let the anger cool. Then we will speak of what can be done. All Mae Dalton knew was that she was being dragged back into a life that would destroy her, slowly or quickly, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. The first week back, Silas Dalton and Earl Dalton were almost gentle. See, Silas said, smiling thinly. We saved you, brought you home where you belong. By the second week, the truth surfaced. You'll work for your keep, Earl announced. Cooking, cleaning, washing. For us and for anyone we say. This is my house. It's our house as long as you live here, Silas corrected calmly. And you earn your place or you sleep outside. It was worse than before she'd fled. Far worse. 16-hour days. Back-breaking labor. Barely enough food. Mae grew thin. Dark circles hollowed her eyes. Bruises bloomed when she moved too slowly. She endured it because she had no choice. 1 month passed, then another. Her spirit began to fracture until the night she realized she was not alone in her suffering. She was pregnant. Mae understood it in the 3rd month of her captivity. The missed courses, the constant nausea, the subtle change in her body, terror and joy crashed through her at once. Nash's child alive inside her. She had to protect the baby. Had to keep it secret until she knew what to do. But secrets never stayed buried for long. One morning, Silas noticed her retching by the sink. What's wrong with you? Nothing, Mae said quickly. Just my stomach. He grabbed her chin, forced her to look up. His eyes narrowed as something clicked into place. You're pregnant. Mae tried to pull away. I'm not. Don't lie to me, Silas hissed, shaking her. That savage's child is it. Mae said nothing. That was answer enough. My God, Earl whispered. You're carrying an Indian's bastard. Out, Silas said coldly. Tonight. We're not raising some half-breed in this house. This is my house, Mae shouted. My parents left it to me. The will says you inherit at 21, Silas snapped. You're 20. 1 more year, it's ours. And we say, get out now. Mae stood her ground, one hand protectively over her stomach. No, I'm not leaving. This is my home. And this is my baby. Silas struck her hard enough to send her to the floor. You'll leave, he snarled, or we'll drag you out. Mae struggled up, shaking. If you touch me again. What? Earl laughed. You have no power here. That night, Mae lay on her narrow bed and cried until there were no tears left. She was trapped, pregnant, alone. She thought of Nash, wondered if he ever thought of her, wondered if he had finally let her go. She did not know that at that very moment, Nash was camped in the forest less than a mile from the house, from the way. He had been there for 2 weeks watching, waiting, planning. Because Nash had not forgotten her, had not moved on, had not given up. He had come to take her back. Consequences be damned. The moment came 3 days later. Mae was alone in the house, scrubbing floors while her uncles were in town. Since discovering her pregnancy, Silas had grown crueler. That morning, he had kicked her for burning his breakfast. Now he burst in at midday, drunk and raging. "On your feet," he snarled. "What I said, on your feet." Mae scrambled up as Silas advanced on her. "You think you can disrespect me, burn my food, carry that savage's bastard under my roof?" "Silas, please. I should have beaten you. Harder years ago," he spat. "Taught you your place." He raised his hand. The door exploded open. Sheriff Wyatt Cole stood there, gun drawn. "Step away from her, Silas." Silas froze. "This is none of your business, Sheriff." "Beating a pregnant woman," Wyatt Cole said coldly. "That makes it my business. I was riding past." The sheriff continued, eyes like iron. "Heard shouting. Came to see for myself." Earl stepped forward. "She's our niece." Wyatt's gaze never left Silas. "She's a human being," Wyatt Cole said sharply. "And you're beating her." He stepped fully inside the house. "Why?" "She disrespects." "I heard you outside," Wyatt cut in. "I heard you say she's carrying a savage's bastard. Is that true?" Mae swallowed and nodded. "And you're pregnant." Another nod. Silent. Shaking. Wyatt's face darkened. "And these two have been mistreating you." "Yes." "How long? Since I was forced back 3 months ago," Mae said quietly. "But before that, too. After my parents died." Her voice cracked. "They've always been cruel. I had nowhere else to go." "Jesus Christ," Wyatt muttered. He had known Henry Dalton a good man, a decent one. Henry would have been sickened to see what his brothers had done. "I ought to arrest you both right now," Wyatt said to Silas Dalton and Earl Dalton, who had just entered the room. "For what?" Earl snapped. "She's family. We discipline our own." "You don't beat a pregnant woman and call it discipline," Wyatt roared. Then his tone shifted, cold, controlled. "But before I put cuffs on you, I want to know something. Henry Dalton's will. What did it say?" Silas stiffened. "That's private. Tell me. Now." Earl cracked first. "The property stays with us as long as Mae lives here until she turns 21. If she leaves before that, it reverts to her." Wyatt's eyes narrowed. "So you kept her here through abuse and fear to hold on to her house?" "It's not like that." "That's exactly what it is." Wyatt turned to Mae. "Did you know about that clause?" "No," Mae whispered. "They never told me." "Of course not," Wyatt said grimly. "Because if you had, you would have left years ago. This is fraud, coercion, assault." He pulled out his handcuffs. "Silas Dalton, Earl Dalton, you're under arrest. You can't." Silas lunged forward. Wyatt's gun came up instantly. "One more step and I shoot. I'm done with both of you." As he cuffed them, Wyatt glanced at Mae. "You got somewhere to go." "Family, no. You were living with the Apache tribe, weren't you?" "Yes." "And the father of the baby is Apache?" "Yes," Mae said, her voice breaking. "A warrior. He's everything." Wyatt sighed. "We'll deal with that later. Right now you need someplace safe while I handle these two." He shoved the uncles toward the door. "Move." As they were marched out, Silas twisted back, sneering. "This doesn't change anything. The house is still ours." "Actually, what?" Wyatt said calmly. Pulling folded papers from his coat, "I checked the county records this morning." Mae frowned, confused. "You turned 21 last month, didn't you?" Her breath caught. She had lost track of dates, months blurred during her time with the tribe. "That means Wyatt continued this property became legally yours 1 month ago. You two have been squatting on and abusing the rightful owner." The looks on Silas and Earl's faces would have been laughable if Mae hadn't felt so hollow. "So here's what's going to happen," Wyatt went on. You're going to jail for assault. After that, if Mae chooses to let you stay on her land, you'll work it as hired hands. And you'll be grateful. Neither man spoke. Wyatt locked them in the cage wagon, then returned to Mae. You all right, girl? I don't know, she admitted. This is a lot. I imagine. He paused. Your father was a good man. He and I were friends. I should have checked on you after he died. I failed you. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. It is partly, Wyatt said, but I'm fixing it now. His eyes dropped to her belly. You said the father is Apache. Yes. Nash. Her voice broke. I haven't seen him in 3 months. He probably thinks I abandoned him. Easy, Wyatt said gently, squeezing her shoulder. We'll sort it out. He glanced at her pale face. First, you need food, rest, medical care. When's the last time you ate? Yesterday morning. Lord, he muttered. Come on. I'm taking you to Dr. Miles. He'll check you and the baby. But the house, it'll be here when you get back, Wyatt said firmly. It's yours now, legally. No one can take it from you. Mae looked at the house, once a prison done now, something uncertain. For the first time in months, she felt the smallest flicker of safety. The house her parents had built, the place her uncles had turned into a cage, didn't have to be a prison anymore. Sheriff Mae said softly, as Wyatt Cole helped her into the wagon. I have an idea about the house. What kind of idea? I want to turn it into a school, she said. For Apache children and white children together. Teach them, side by side. Help them understand each other. My parents would have loved that. Wyatt smiled, slow and genuine. I think that's a fine idea, Miss Dalton. A very fine one. Dr. Miles declared Mae and the baby, healthy if underweight. You need rest and real meals, he said. That child needs a mother who's looked after. Mae spent one night at the doctor's house, eating until she felt human again, sleeping in a real bed for the first time in months. The next morning she returned to her property and found someone waiting. Nash sat on the porch like he'd been there a long time. You came back? Mae breathed. Nash stood slowly. I never left. I've been here 2 weeks, watching, waiting, planning to take you. You were going to kidnap me again. Yes, he said without apology. I couldn't leave you to suffer. I was planning a raid until the sheriff arrested your uncles yesterday. I heard everything. He stepped off the porch and stopped in front of her. I'm sorry. Sorry I let Tarek send you away. Sorry I didn't come sooner. Sorry for every day you suffered. You're here now, Mae said. That's what matters. I am, Nash said firmly, and I'm not leaving without you. If you'll come. If you still want me. Mae kissed him, pouring longing, relief, love, and pain into it, all at once. When they pulled apart, Nash's eyes shone. I have something to tell you, Mae said. Tell me. I'm pregnant. With your child. Nash went completely still. We're having a baby, she said softly. About 6 months. A sound tore from his chest, half laugh, half sob, as he lifted her and spun her, once before setting her down carefully, his hand immediately resting on her stomach. A child, he breathed. Our child. Mae. You are everything. You and this baby. You're my family. My heart. My world. I can't feel it yet, he said in awe. You will, she smiled, and you'll be here for all of it. I'm never leaving your side again, Good Mae said. Because I have plans. For this house. For us. She told him about the school. About building a bridge instead of a wall. About a future where children learned together. Nash listened, wonder growing in his face. You would do this if you help me. If the tribe allows their children to come. They will, Nash said without hesitation. And I will help. We build this together. Not white, not Apache. Something better. Something ours, Mae agreed. They were still talking when Wyatt returned with news. Silas Dalton and Earl Dalton had been sentenced to 6 months for assault. After that, Mae could choose whether to press further charges or allow them to work off their debt. "I want them to work," Mae said. "They can live in the barn, tend the land, never the house." Wyatt nodded. "Justice and mercy. Your parents would be proud." 3 years later, the Dalton school had 23 students, 12 Apache, 11 white. Mae taught English and arithmetic. Nash taught tracking hunting language and tradition. Both cultures learned side by side. Their son Eli, 3 years old, ran with the other children, speaking both languages with ease. Their daughter Rose, 6 months old, slept in a cradle near Mae's desk. Silas and Earl lived in the converted barn, worked the land, ate the food Mae provided, and never complained. They'd learned. Ira visited monthly with her husband and children. She and Mae had become true friends. The tribe had been wary at first, but seeing their children thrive, learning the white world without losing themselves, they embraced it. Peace, imperfect but real, began to grow. One evening, after the students had gone home, Mae and Nash sat on the porch, watching the sun sink low. "You were right," Nash said quietly, "about building something new." "We built it together," Mae corrected. "You, me, and everyone brave enough to try." Nash smiled at her. "Sometimes I still can't believe you're real." Mae leaned into him. "Believe it. I'm never leaving." "Good," he said softly, "because I'd chase you to the end of the earth if you tried." Eli came running up the yard, Boots' muddy face split with a grin. "Papa." "I caught a frog. Come see what." Nash rose and ruffled his son's hair, pride softening his warrior's frame. "Show me, little warrior." As father and son headed toward the stream, Mae's fingers brushed the pendant at her throat, a wolf carved from dark wood, the same symbol that had once been cut into her cellar door all those years ago. The mark that had promised protection, that had claimed her, that had changed everything. She had been cast out for helping a wounded Apache, but that single act of compassion had led her to a love worth every sacrifice, to a family worth every struggle, to a life worth living. And that, Mae knew, was the truest justice of all. She remembered the night it began. She had been thrown into the cellar for helping a wounded Apache. By morning, a strange mark was carved into her door. Mae Dalton hadn't known what it meant when she traced it with shaking fingers in the gray light before dawn. 3 lines through a circle, a wolf beneath, carved deep into the wood of the cellar, where her uncles had locked her, waiting for the town to whip her in the square for the crime of mercy. What Mae learned that morning, when Nash's war band tore through her uncle's land like judgment given flesh, was that the mark meant protection, belonging, a promise, the promise of a warrior she had saved, that no one would ever hurt her again. Nash, the most feared warrior in the territory, had taken her not out of cruelty but necessity, to protect her life, to protect his people's secrets. But what began as duty became something neither of them expected. Love. A love that bridged 2 worlds, defied 2 cultures, endured duty, distance, separation, and despair. They lost 2 years to pain and longing. Mae endured cruelty, fear, and silence. Nash watched from the shadows, waiting, planning, willing to burn the world to bring her back. When he finally came for her after weeks hidden in the trees, consequences be damned, Mae learned something lasting, that some loves are worth everything. That family can be built, not just born. That a mark carved in darkness can lead to the brightest light. Years later, their children would ask about the wolf, about the mark, about how Mama and Papa met. Mae always told them the same thing. "I saw someone who needed help," she would say, "so I helped him. I didn't know he was a legendary warrior. I didn't know he would mark my door to protect me. I didn't know one small act of kindness would lead to the greatest love of my life. But that's how the best things happen," she'd add. "Not when we're searching for them, but when we choose to be good." And Nash would look at his wife with the same quiet wonder he'd carried for decades and say, "Your mama saved my life twice. Once when I was trapped in the rocks, and once when grief was killing me slowly. The mark I carved meant she was mine to protect. But the truth is we protected each other. We still do, and we always will. And so the story of a carved mark, a wounded warrior, and a woman who chose compassion lived on a reminder that the bravest acts often begin with the simplest kindness. All stories are created for entertainment purposes and may include fictional elements or dramatized interpretations inspired by historical settings. We use AI tools, voiceover visuals, scripts as creative assistants. However, all content is reviewed, refined, and edited by humans to ensure emotional authenticity and storytelling quality. We fully comply with YouTube's policies regarding AI-generated content and do not use any deepfake techniques or misleading recreations of real individuals. All visuals and supporting materials are properly licensed. Sharing, re-uploading, modifying, or distributing any part of this content in any form requires written permission. We appreciate your support and respect for original creative work